Okay, we will come to order at 4:58 PM. Introduce ourselves.
Carrie Kimmett, Select Board.
Dan Webster, Select Board.
Matt Maxwell, Town Administrator.
Chris Roy reporting.
We also have Dave Barlow and Carleen Leonhardt. Changes and additions, we're gonna be taking off the town, the MERP grant proposal. That's something Scott wants to be a part of, so we're gonna do that to the next meeting. And we've got to add this only invitational thing that we agreed to a while ago. But I never got any documentation from it, so I refused to send them any money. So now if you guys wanna, okay this tonight, we'll send them a check for $100.
Is it in here?
It's no, it's just, that's just the one.
Mhm.
Any public comments?
Me.
Go ahead, Carrie.
So I want to recognize Morris Maxwell passed away the beginning of January. And he was a lister for 20 years for the town. We had done the $500 donation that we had agreed on when Pat passed away. So yeah, I just want to, he's service to the town and we appreciate it and show some love.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
So I don't know, if,
great.
Matt, if you want to decide the Holstein Foundation or the Eastern Draft Horse
I send
Association.
it to the horses personally. but
Yep, okay.
Holsteins they got plenty of money.
Yep, so the draft horses.
What's the official name of the group?
Eastern Draft Horse Association.
Okay. And he was, that's something you do when somebody is significant in town dies, or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, first up is the fiscal year 2026 budget. Dave Barlow is available for any questions. You should have it there in front of you. It should be the general fund and the highway fund. And this is, as long as everybody is good with what's there, this is what will be printed in the town report, which I will be sending to print on Friday.
Dave, hi Dave.
Hello.
Oh, there he is.
There
Hi
he
there.
is.
Hi.
That's some glare, man. Hang on.
Oh,
Ghostly.
just a floating head.
Man, disembodied voices.
My only thing I saw in the budget was just like the fiscal year 2026, like the clerk, where else? Delinquent tax penalty due, some of the stuff, they're all over the place of how they increase. But it's just a suggestion because after the fiscal year starts, that's when like raises and stipends are adjusted.
Yes.
Not following, yes.
July 1st.
Yeah, cause like.
And
uh,
you get a separate bite at that because usually in June you will see a wage and salary sheet for all of the employees.
Right. Yeah,
But
okay.
this is an
Some of them
attempt
went up
to,
like 50%, some were 9%, some were 4%. So they're just all over the place. In the
yeah, it varied.
Okay.
Most were that 3.8%. But not all.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, yep, I'm good with it.
Okay, you guys can motion whenever you're ready then.
I'm good. Wanna. So we're just accepting both, do both of them separately, or?
You can just say the budget, I mean, it's all, you can say the fiscal year 2026 budget, and that'll encompass the general fund and the highway fund. But I would say your motion, just say you approve the fiscal year 2026 budget for printing.
Okay, I'll motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 budget for print.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
If I may, just a couple of housekeeping, what is the budget? What's the increase from from the current year? That 3.89, I didn't quite catch that.
That 3.8 that Dave was talking about is cost of living rates on some of the stipends and salaries in town, had nothing to do with the good budget.
Well, that's what I was wondering, so what is the, how high, I'd like to hear the numbers, I'd like to have a copy of the budget, if I could, Matt.
Yeah, sure.
What's the percentage increase?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Dave?
Maybe Dave?
None of us did the math.
mm-mm. I have to look and see.
Well, what's the current budget?
We're gonna get to that in the next agenda item.
Okay. What's the biggest driving factor for this year's increase? Is there anything unusual?
Yeah, health insurance went up a lot.
Really?
Health insurance is up 21.3%.
That's for employees, obviously?
Yeah.
Does every employee get health insurance or just FTEs?
Full time. Yep. So that was, everything else was pretty level funded. That was the big increase.
Was that, are you seeing that across the board, Matt? Of all towns, do you have?
Oh, I'm not sure how about the other town. I mean, I know we use Blue Cross Blue Shield. I don't know what other towns use, but yeah, ours took a big jump this year.
I think all insurances.
Yeah, I mean, I think insurance.
Every
in general's
insurance,
gone
yeah.
up a lot, but I don't know if the other towns are taking hits like that.
Any idea why for the jump?
I mean, I would just say the economy and, way things work in that industry,
All those increases in health insurance approved by a board in Vermont. It's a state of Vermont board that approves that. Chris? You can look that up online.
Is it Vermont Healthcare?
It's not specific to the town at all. It's the entire state.
Right, that's the Vermont Healthcare Board or?
I believe that's the name of it, yes. And you have two choices, MVP or Blue Cross Blue Shield. They were both about the same.
Have you been with Blue Cross Blue Shield traditionally? Have you ever been on, the other vendor or have you always been on BCBS?
In my time, which is involved with health insurance, which is quite recent, it's been Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Alright,
Okay, next up is the town meeting warning, and you should each have a copy of that in your packet. Read through it, make sure you're okay with how the articles are written. They have the numbers there for the general fund and the highway funds. And you will need to motion and sign one of those copies, and then we also got to get Scott to sign, and Deb will have to sign it before it can be posted. But you guys can do that and approve it tonight. Just make sure, if there's anything in there, we've got time to make adjustments if you want to. I can always go on a special meeting and have you come in and approve it and sign it if you don't like what's there. If you think
This is what I saw before.
Yep,
Mhm.
it's got it's got, that's basically what we'd be doing on town meeting. Those are the articles that we would be discussing. Once you approve it, that's kind of it.
This is it.
It's hard to make changes after that, so just be sure you're happy with the wording and stuff like that.
I read through it. I thought it looked fine.
Mhm.
Deb questioned something about the 2026 should be. I don't know if she thought it should be on all the lines, but she's not here tonight, so,
I had it on all mine. Scott Worley told me to take it off.
yep.
For what?
He felt it was confusing and he would not have approved it.
Nope, okay. We'll see where this one talks about 2026
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
fiscal year 2026.
The budget ones do, and then.
Yeah, and the other ones don't.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb on that is these are literal articles. They're not really subject to interpretation. So if it doesn't say what fiscal year it is, it's your current fiscal year. And
Oh,
we're
right,
currently
yeah.
in fiscal year 25.
Yep, so it has, the first two say 26. I think it looks good.
Yep.
Well, just a bit word of caution. If there's confusion about the fiscal year, there won't be. It's fiscal year 25. If it doesn't say 26 or some other fiscal year, then you're talking about fiscal year 25.
Because it's just,
I'm not trying to be mysterious,
No,
but if
no,
you
no.
look at,
I think
Um,
really the only thing it would be 11 about the excess revenue.
yeah, that's problematic. There will
Shall-
not be any excess revenue this fiscal year.
Shall excess revenues received into the general fund of $500,000 unaudited be transferred to long-term investment account?
Yeah, that was a fiscal year 24 event.
So that one doesn't need the 26 in it.
It would be 24. He took out all of it, right? It's just took out the fiscal year. Well, I mean, you can do that if you want, but now you're talking fiscal year 25.
Okay, so as it's written, you don't have it in front of you.
I've seen it
Shall-
many
okay.
times.
So should Article 11 have a year in it then?
They all should. However, I'm tired of arguing with Scott about it, so I've said my piece and I'm done.
Well, now I'm really opened up a can of worms there, didn't I? So it shouldn't.
I have to agree with Mr. Barlow on this. I don't understand why the fiscal year was taken out of any of the articles because this definitely doesn't seem to be very clear. And if it's not clear to the select board, it's not going to be clear to the average reader or an auditor in the future. And so I'm not quite sure why the fiscal year was taken out. That doesn't seem to be consistent with any type of accounting principles. And I know Scott's not there to address it, but before it goes public, I would think having some clarity around each of those articles and what fiscal year it applied to would be very important.
I'm trying to get on to the internet to look at a past town report. It's giving me issues.
And,
Well,
I would avoid last year's
got it
because it
on-
also was lacking
Confusing.
proper fiscal year notation in the articles, but anything,
You guys would just explain it during the meeting.
So say that again.
He thought it would be confusing and that you guys would just explain it.
That it was for fiscal year 2026.
articles are literal. They're
Matt,
literal.
I didn't hear Matt when he speaks. Sorry.
She couldn't hear you.
What?
Carlene couldn't hear you.
Well, he thought it was confusing and he felt they would be best explained on the floor during the meeting.
All right. It keeps wanting me to sign into some Xfinity something.
It's probably our Wi-Fi.
Get connected with now, Wi-Fi pass. All right, I'm there. Documents, town report. Okay, so in the 2022 book, it says shall excess revenues received in fiscal year 2022 into the general fund be transferred to, so it's specific in the 2022, so I hate to say, I think it needs to have it in there. I agree, I know, like you said, you're the money man and you know.
Yeah, I mean, you can leave it out and then it'll be a fiscal year 25 event. And
But there won't be money to move.
well, I mean, yeah,
There is, but there
yes,
is.
there is, but you'll have a huge deficit. So, you know, and it's a paper thing and Ms. Leonhardt is correct. The auditors are the ones that are really going to be confused. And then we end up having to try to explain it to them and get our wrists slapped. And
You don't want the backpedaling to go on with the auditors, right? It should be clear.
Mhm.
You said
Yeah,
it.
it's also not clear to the voters.
I don't understand why putting the fiscal year in there was
So
such a
it does say
problem.
this one. This is the 2022 book.
If somebody was to look back 2 or 3 years, say 2028, they're looking back at 2025, you definitely would want it to be clear over where the money came and went.
Mhm.
And maybe it's not just this article, maybe it's the other articles as well, but I think clarity, anytime you're talking about articles and finances, clarity needs to be there about how the money moved around.
They're really. So it needs it in 10 and 11, even 9, 10 and 11.
You just approve it and say you want to add that in there then.
So approve it with changes? That
Just-
works?
Just say, yeah, and then I'll just add that in there.
What do you think?
If you want it in there.
Then what happens if Scott doesn't sign it? Is it majority or is it that 3 signatures?
No, I mean, it should have 3 signatures. It'll look bad, but.
Yeah, true.
I can see where we need the dates, but I think we're gonna be explaining this to people anyway,
Right.
whether we put the dates on there or not.
Mhm.
But it's also a historical document.
Yes,
Yeah,
It will be audited.
and at general first glance, I'd have to say it not being there kind of raises a red flag. I mean, I would want to know why was it so important not to have the
Mhm.
fiscal year properly addressed? That to me just sends up a red flag.
And I also don't understand why it would confuse voters. They
Mhm.
haven't expressed confusion about that in the past. And if it's there, we can certainly explain it. And if it's not there, yes, that's confusing, and now we have to explain it, which is doubly confusing.
And if some chance none of you are there in 2 or 3 years, nobody to ask. There won't be anybody to ask if it's not documented. If it's not memorialized in the documents, what happens when you all take that happy retirement to the Bahamas or something?
They might be getting rain and ice too. Don't want to go there.
We still have a little bit on that.
so which ones do you feel need a date? 9, 10, 11, you said?
9, 10.
Anything that deals with money,
Yes,
any of them that deal with funds and
Because
money.
like 5 talks about 700,000 to summer 2025 paging projects. It already talks about it.
Yep.
6 is about the town garage.
Yep.
7, do we want the ordinance?
Mm,
And 8 is, do we want to do anything about the gravel pit? So I think it's just 9, 10, and 11.
I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really, those are the only other ones that talk about it. I'd say the fiscal year in 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You want a motion or you want me to?
So we're just motioning to put a date
Just
in.
motion that you can't sign that one, because I'm gonna have to fix it, and then you'll have to come in tomorrow and sign it.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're gonna,
You're gonna make a motion to
Mo-
accept the warning with adding whatever you wanna add to those articles, and then don't sign it. Just motion it and second it, and
okay, a motion to accept the warning for Coventry Town meeting Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, with exception of changing the dates on adding a date for Article 9, 10, and 11.
okay.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Scott.
Okay, so make sure you both get in here.
Mhm, yep,
sign
tomorrow.
that. Well, just before Friday. It's gotta go to print Friday, so
Mhm.
Friday or Friday morning. You don't have to come in tomorrow if you're busy or something like that.
Just working. I'll take a break.
Deb's gonna have to sign it too, so.
Yes.
FEMA buyouts update. Okay, so this is for the 2 FEMA buyouts. And this is 55 Conway Court, James and Sally Laporte, and the one on the River Road, Tammy and Andre Brassar. I had a meeting with the state people that are running this, and they have provided us with a list of assessors that they're gonna use throughout the state for these things. And I passed that information on to both the Laportes and the Brassars, and their next step is to set up an appointment to get their properties appraised. At which point they will give me a copy of the appraisal report and the invoice for that appraisal, and I will send that into the state. And we will go to the next step from there. And that, once they get that number back, then they can decide whether they wanna take that number or get out. And then we move on to the demolition phase.
You just said there's 3.
2, FEMA, this is just FEMA, Carlene's is different.
Okay.
She's in a completely different program. These are federal, because these 2 buildings are located in an actual flood zone.
Mhm.
So they're being handled completely by the federal government. We don't have to do anything. It's a different process with Carlene's property, where the town's a little bit more involved. We're actually the sub-grantee for Carlene's thing. We have nothing to do with these FEMA things. It's all, the feds are doing everything. We just move along the paperwork, so.
Yep,
That's
good.
the update on those 2.
How's yours going along, Carleen?
Slowly, but sent me some documents in regards to the historic preservation review, which I don't think we anticipated having to do a historic preservation review. And there are some documents like that Matt forwarded to me, and I took a look at them. And correct me, Matt, if I misunderstand, but they have to be completed by the town, right? I'm not supposed to complete those documents. The town has to complete them.
The town have to complete something?
What's that?
I think she was asking if the town had to complete some of the documents.
I don't know.
It's the historic preservation review, Matt, that you forwarded me. There's 3 documents.
For historic review documents
Yeah.
forwarded. It's
Historic preservation review.
a little scratchy on our end.
So I'm sorry, I don't know, it might be me. From Miss Lisa Cobb with the Hazard Mitigation Grants Manager. She forwarded some documents, actually forms, like the SHOP or PO, and then the determination of eligibility form. I'm assuming based on what I read that they're trying to determine whether or not the house has any historic preservation to it. And then they've asked questions about the condition of the house and how it's made and how old it is and all that. But I read in the email that the documents are to be completed by the town, which I'm assuming is Matt. So I wasn't sure, Matt, if you wanted to work on them together, or is the town just going to complete the forms?
No, we can do it together if you've got time sometime, Carleen.
Yeah, I didn't see a due date in any of the emails, but yeah, some of the forms have information that I think the town has to provide, but for the actually, what the house is made out of, how old the house is, what kind of foundation it has, what kind of siding it has. I mean, obviously, we can provide that information. So,
Yep.
So do you want to just send me a notice of some time when you're available, and we can at least discuss it, look it over, and then decide where to go from there?
Yeah, I'll send you an email in the morning, and I'll put a couple times on there, and we'll try to figure out one that works good for both of us. I can set it up Zoom like this, and we can do it over the computer.
Okay. That was good for me, and then we'll just go. I don't think it's a showstopper in any way, because I don't think there's any historic relevance.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take us very long once we get going.
I agree. So we'll move on with that. So just send me a note and then we'll go on forward with that.
Yep, I'll send you one in the morning.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carleen.
So just, I know where her place is, I know Grosser's, the other place is right here, right?
Conway Court.
The
Okay.
other end of the street, yeah.
Well, it's Miller's old house.
Yep.
Yeah,
John,
John Miller's old house.
wasn't this place over here like Berkowitz?
Well, Deb Lucas's place and then the Grange Hall, but they're in the program with Carlene's, because that's not floodplain, so that's different from the FEMA ones. They're
Okay.
they're in the same, but they're not as far along in the process as Carleen is.
Okay.
'Cause
And
they're not-
it's state funding with ours. It's just hard to imagine how we cannot be in a floodplain, but then Conway's is in a floodplain.
those floodplain maps are so old and they need to be redone, because, I mean, the whole village should be in the floodplain.
To redo those maps since my parents died 14 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they're so out of date, it's ridiculous.
It's terrible, and they keep saying, well, it's not on the list, it's not on the list, Coventry's not on the list, and I'm like, okay, but they flood every year, so
Right.
that'll be on the list.
I
But
know.
it is, yeah, so I believe the money is coming down a separate avenue for the house and for Burkett's old house. Whereas Miller's house, Conway, that area, they're coming out of the federal money, so it's a little bit of where the pot of money's coming from that's differentiating between the two, and then ultimately the state is gonna oversee Berkett's and ours and the Grange Hall.
Yep.
Whereas the feds will oversee the other two. Is that
Correct. Yep.
okay? All right, so Matt and I will just work together on this and move it forward.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carleen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have.
Can you explain, so
Oops, sorry, Chris.
if FEMA is buying these properties, what does the town have to say about it?
Town has nothing to say about it. It's private property. It's their-
Right, that's what I'm saying, so I don't understand why it's even in front of this board.
What's that?
Why is it even in front of this board?
Well, we could have denied it, couldn't we have?
Yeah, you could have, I suppose.
We had
I mean,
to approve it.
Yeah, the board they have to approve it.
You have to approve the buyout.
They had to approve getting into the buyout program when it came out, I don't know, a year ago or whenever it started.
Right? So I guess I'm just wondering why the board has to, I mean, can you wanna just sell it to FEMA or whoever wants to buy it?
They can if they want, yeah.
Okay, I'm just wondering why you guys will vote on it, what do you have to say?
Well, of course, just to keep up on the
Right.
the progress of it too, because it's gonna become town property,
Yeah.
Yeah.
green space.
Yeah, FEMA technically doesn't buy anything. With taxpayer base, so they don't buy anything. So that's why they go to basically the taxing entity, which is the village, the town, just like any other city, because I live in a flood zone in Texas and we've flooded from hurricanes several times, worked with FEMA, the whole thing. So they don't actually buy anything, but they'll go to the taxing entity, which is the village, because ultimately the village will own that piece of property. FEMA's never gonna own that piece of property. So the funding comes from the government, whether state or federal, but they don't own anything. So at the end of the day, the town will own all those properties because it affects your tax base and the water department and everything else, the maintenance of the property going forward.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, FEMA and the state, Department of Environmental Management, whatever they are, they don't actually buy anything, and it's important that the town is involved because that's gonna be some pretty big gaps in town real estate that will never be filled. Because the deed restriction will say you can never build another building on those properties.
Mhm.
So it'll be like a checkerboard, the town will have these empty lots scattered about it.
In some towns, it can make a big difference.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Towns that pay the municipal taxes. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the thing, which I know municipal tax is not Coventry, but that doesn't say it will never be. You may have to pay municipal taxes, and so that would be properties that the town will not make any money off them.
Yeah.
Should I get a motion again?
Hear the motion?
There was no motion.
There's no motion today.
No, it's just an action for Matt and I to work together on the forms.
Well, I'm asking for a previous motion.
Alrighty, mileage certificate for town roads.
What was this?
What is it? I mean, you explained it a little bit. Is it something that's in here too or no? So,
So this is something you gotta do every year in January.
just say we have the same roads.
Certify, but you have some changes this
Yep,
year.
the
So
classes.
just verify your changes, which is the only, we went from a class 3 to a class 2 on Airport Road. And that's listed on there. So all you guys have to do is, make a motion to approve that and then sign it. There should be spots for all 3 of you to sign and a spot for Deb to sign. And then give it back to me.
And you looked it over, it's all right, it's
It's
all,
all good, yeah.
Mhm.
I compared it to last year's and it's the same except for our airport road.
Mhm.
So we have about an extra mile of class 2 now.
good with it.
Mhm.
Make a motion to accept the certificate of highway mileage year ending February 10, 2025 for the town of Coventry.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Done.
Good. Scott and Deb to sign that. Okay, next up we have logo or decals for town vehicles.
So Deb brought up at one point, maybe coming up with some sort of logo, which I thought was a good idea. And then I wondered about somehow making it like maybe a contest for like the school kids to come up with, something. We may not use it exactly, but we might put some ideas together. But also, Nate was having trouble with one of the trucks one day and I drove by and there's nothing on the trucks. There's no writing, no town of Coventry. If I didn't know Nate, I might not have stopped, being a woman alone on the Elderbrook Road. So I just wondered about,
Other towns have them, it kind of representative.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Be part of your town.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so just an idea.
I think it's a good idea.
Would you like me to look into it?
Mhm. Yeah, there's
Okay.
3 or 4 places around just local that do the lettering. And also Deb said there was a company, I'd have to look back, there's a company that will actually design a logo for free too.
And you're thinking just the.
Just in general,
just
going down the
just
road,
stuff though, right? We're not.
well, just in general, having a logo for the
Right,
town, but it might go on
As
letterhead
far
or,
as like.
right now, just look into getting the truck letter is
Getting
my,
commentary on the door and.
it would be nice, yeah,
Okay,
I think.
Yeah.
or the road.
Yes, Chris.
I guess I can ask that because I do live in the town.
Road department.
Hey, I was gonna say the same thing that Carrie did. Why not have a contest with the kids? With the school kids and, have a, have a prize,
Mhm. Prize for the student or prize for the,
for the class, the group, a pizza party or,
Mhm.
maybe have the diner make something,
mhm,
for the kiddos, whatever, that'd be up to higher ups.
mhm,
I mean, why pay somebody to do it when
mhm.
you have a lot of talented kids right across the road over here?
Yep, yep, for sure. So that's something we can think about down the road.
What, no disrespect to the kids, but I mean, like a logo, like they make on the computer or something.
Maybe, or draw, just to
Yeah.
get ideas.
You got some talented kids over
Mhm.
there, or, I mean, you have, you have the kids who name the snowplows for the state every year,
Mhm,
and you have some good artists over there, I'm sure.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe no disrespect, but the kindergarten students, but you have, the young girls.
It just is gonna be a logo on the town
Yep,
trucks to start.
yep,
I mean.
yeah. I wouldn't wait for the logo to get them lettered, but, just in general to have a logo.
And you might consider also is because you're talking about elementary school kids, okay, not great artists. If for some reason the town chooses not to use any of these submissions, maybe you could just do a $10 McDonald's gift card for each submission. And that each child feels they got something for their submission, just in case the town decides to go another way, nobody's feelings will be hurt, and, you know, they can say it's something that they earned by getting the gift card from a local place that kids would like to go. And I don't think there'll be that many, but that way, if you have to say, we really don't think that needs to go on a town piece of equipment, no feelings will be hurt because they were part of the building of that. So just something to consider.
Yeah.
The group of the kids that you're talking about.
Yeah, beginning stages.
Yes.
I mean, it makes the kids feel part of the, you know, the town too. I mean, maybe they could design it while their parents were at town meeting. I mean, I don't know,
Yep.
just a thought.
Okay, great. That will bring us to the treasurer's report. Mr. Barlow?
The moment you've been all waiting for. Okay, so I'll have to,
There's also an executive budget report there with you too. They've got them both, Dave.
okay, yeah, I'll do the budget report last. Won't
Okay.
take too long. Okay, December 2024 is the month in front of you. Two big events. I'll just kind of talk through you here with the big money. If you look at the checking account, it shows 2.790 million out. That was the 2.1 million check we wrote for the school system that went to the supervisory union, and that was education taxes we collected. And then a good chunk of it was the $250,000 check to the Coventry Town Foundation that they cashed in December. So when you see that giant number there, mostly it's school, but there was also that giant donation to the Coventry Town Foundation appropriation. Okay, so that's on the cash side. General fund itself, pretty normal month. Highway fund as well. And as we go down and look at the restricted fund balances on the reserve funds, nothing happened, nothing whatsoever. And then we come down a little bit further to the investment portfolio. And I should have mentioned also on the cash side, I sent the annual budgeted contribution to the town's investment fund of $250,000. That went to Fidelity through our investment manager on December 31st. So that's also reflected in that large movement of cash you see at the top, as well as in the balance of the town investment fund at the bottom. And Matt, I don't know if did you print more than one page for him of this?
I just printed the top page of the treasurer's report.
Okay, because I've moved the graph of the town investment fund value that used to be kind of compressed all into the same page. That's now on the back.
I printed this at work.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't say
It's
that.
now on the back.
I printed this.
So
I got
now you can actually read everything.
Yep.
But unfortunately, that does mean 2 pages. So I posted up that value for the start of 2025 as well on that graph.
Going up is good.
Just remember, sometimes it doesn't go up. Sometimes it goes sideways. So if there are no questions on my December report, I will move on to the budget status. Okay, so the budget status report is as of the 20th of January. We have 55.6% of the fiscal year completed. We have received our January payment from Casella. That came in on the 15th. I posted most of that, $500,000 of that went onto the highway fund. So if you were to compare the previous report you saw from me on this to this one, revenue received in the highway fund went from $500,000 to $1 million. But let me refocus for a minute on the top part of it, the general fund. The revenue numbers look fine. You know, we're all well ahead of the point we are in the fiscal year at 55.6%, and overall revenues at 71.9%. Expense wise, we're also ahead, but in one important category where you really want to focus, operational expenses, we're right on target. So we're at 54.9% on our operational expenses at 55.6% of the year. So, the other numbers are they're big numbers, but they're events that happen. The town foundation, 250,000, the investment transfer, 250,000. And that kind of skews the overall number on the budget side, but the important one to watch there is operational. The other piece just to warn and give you a little heads up, the projected excess revenue number went negative. Meaning that I'm projecting that more money will leave the town in fiscal year 25 than we will receive. That also was true last year. You'll see that in my report for the town report. And why is that? Well, we're spending a lot on the highways. So on the highway fund, again, I told you about the revenue received in January. That is looking a little better than it was before. In fact, it's up to speed at the moment. We got a grant payment for the Coventry Station Road repair. That's a big number, $570,000 that came in. We've received all the state grants for the fiscal year, $112,000 for the highways. So revenue side of the highway fund is, I would say it's looking okay. A thing to keep in mind with our revenue is mostly landfill money, and we have one landfill check left this fiscal year. And I expect that in April.
And those you can't know ahead of time anyway, because of what business they do or don't do.
Right. So this year has been a little precarious in trying to predict, but I think it'll be around $500,000.
Mhm.
And when you look at the projected excess revenue number being negative, that means that that $500,000 is not going to cover the budgeted revenue that we had going into the year, or after the town meeting, I should say. Once town meeting was finished and we put all the articles onto the budget, I don't expect the landfill revenue to cover all that this year. Doesn't mean we're going to go get a loan. Just it means we're dipping into the little bit extra we had previous years. Okay, so I'm distracting myself and you probably too here with the sidebars. But so looking at the operational expenses on the highway fund, that actually is that's a good number. It's at 290,566, that line at 46.7%, when we're already 54.9% into the year. So if that holds true, we'll have probably a little bit of extra headroom there on operational expenses in the highway fund. That would be good. The paving is done, 600,000. The truck remains out in the wilderness, wherever the truck is hiding, that we have on order. That's not done yet. Coventry Station road repairs. If you were to compare this report to my previous one, I have adjusted the budgeted number for that based on the work we've actually done or what we've actually been billed for. It doesn't look like we're going to get much more billing on that, at least in this fiscal year. Previously, I'd based it on the contracted number, but that was a much larger number, like 1.2 million. This number, 837,450, seems a lot closer to what reality will be for us this fiscal year, keeping in mind that most of that's covered by a grant. A lot of which we've already received. They paid us at 80%, so they owe us another 10%. Anyhow, we get down the bottom, highway fund number. It's a big number for a highway fund, 2.335305, 2.3 million. Previous, and why is that this year? Because we've been posting things that we funded previous years out of the reserve funds. That was a decision taken by last year's board to run the town that way, and it's what came out of town meeting. So you got big projects now that are in the highway fund. And I'll point out the way the current town meeting warning is written, it's the same for fiscal year 26.
Going back to Coventry Station Road, there's work left, right? We're still gonna get billed for some more of that.
Yeah.
It'll be closer to the 1.2.
They gotta pave it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it would cost to pave that section, maybe another $70,000. I don't think we'll get to $1 million. But it'll be more.
Yeah, and it's just questionable which fiscal year is it going to fall into, as well as that it's mostly a grant.
Mhm.
So, our cost on that's 10%.
Yeah, I applied for a extension on that one, Dave's, and I believe they gave us until the end of August to complete that. So I mean, that doesn't mean that Goodhue won't do it in, in May or June, but we've got a lot, so it may end up being 26.
Yeah, I guess the important point from my perspective is that, our cost share is 10%. So instead of being a 6-digit number, it's going to be a smaller, much smaller 5-digit number.
Yeah.
So it's not inconsequential, but it's just it's a tough thing to make a guess.
Yeah.
But this is it. I had to make a guess for the 26 budget as well. I wanted to make sure that the numbers were aligned with what's going on here. So
Looks good.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Heard anything on the truck?
Yeah, it's on back order.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Dave.
David, can I ask you a question?
sure.
So hypothetically, there's 5 buyout projects for the town that are supposed to be completed by the end of 2025. Some are FEMA, some are state funded. So the cost of those projects is being granted to the town. However, the debris from all of those demolitions, I'm assuming, will end up going to Consol at the landfill, which they will then record as profit. So their profit in some way comes back to the town, correct?
We have a tipping fee arrangement that's based on the weight, the tonnage of material that's deposited there. It's a few cents over $4 a ton at the moment, $4.15, something like that.
Okay, yeah, so the cost for the debris to go to the landfill, which will come out of project money funded by the state or the feds at no expense to the town, but yet goes into the profit of the landfill, which then, like you said, the tipping fees that come back will come back to the town. So the town could potentially get some money more than normal, more than was planned, just because of the demolition of all those properties and the debris going to the landfill, which no way to calculate that, but I was just wondering, will that show up as any significant profit for Consol that then comes back to the town?
I wouldn't think so, just because, we're talking tonnage numbers that are in the several hundred thousands.
Good.
Over from Casella.
Yeah, the grid is something, but yeah,
I mean, the answer is yes, but could we notice it? I
okay,
doubt it. It's an interesting question though, because part of the arrangement with the town with Casella is that we can dump municipal waste there at no cost. So if in fact it's the town doing the demolition, that
yeah, it's
may
because
not
it's,
cost us anything either. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
yeah, the cost, there's no cost to the town, but then the landfill will reap a little bit of a benefit, which then ultimately hopefully come back to the town.
Yeah, I mean, at like $4.15 a ton.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
All set, David?
I am, thanks. Over.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, so other business, I've got this only invitational thing.
What is this?
We agreed to sponsor a whole, it's for area veterans. They donate money to area veterans. We
Only
said-
like the store?
Yeah. No, he's the pro
Country-
of the Orleans Country Club.
Okay,
So he does a golf tournament where they donate all the proceeds to area veterans. We agreed to sponsor a hole, which we did. I saw they sent me a picture of our logo or whatever, we sponsored the hole, but they never gave me any paperwork, so Deb couldn't cut a check for them until they
Mhm.
gave us something like this. So now if you'd be kind enough to approve that, I will give it to Deb tomorrow and she can.
you good with it?
Mhm. Yep.
Make a motion to sponsor the only invitational at Orleans Country Club with amount of $100.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Area veterans, thank you too.
Mhm.
We got some minutes there for approval. There's actually no warrants tonight, as you can see, so we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, she sent them. Last night, shown them.
They're not in the building.
Number 4 on the town garage, can we reword a little bit? Harry Kay would like an article for the voters at town meeting. Maybe as requested by the voters. I don't want them to think I'm pushing the garage.
Absolutely.
Other than that, looks good.
Very-
All right, you're all set.
Mhm.
Motion to approve the minutes for select board meeting for the town of Coventry, Monday, January 6th, 2025, as presented.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
very good.
Nice. Look at that. No, Scott, less than an hour.
5:52.
Uh,